This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 44 of the Three Lions podcast. My name's Russell Osborne. Thanks for the reaction to the last podcast. Seems quite a while ago now. Hopefully I've not kept you waiting too long for this one. England Football Online can be found at, englandfootballonline.com. Glenn Isherwood and Chris Goodwin do a magnificent job over there. If you've not heard it yet, threelionspodcast.com. You'll find it there. Episode 43. Give your ears a treat. Now, coming up on this episode, we chat with Cam Melling, who runs the website EnglishPlayersAbroad.com. We'll chat with him very soon. Now, what else has been going on? Of course, the countdown is on for next month's games. Of course, we start our Euro 2020 qualifying campaign at home to the Czech Republic, then away to Montenegro. It would appear, at the time of recording, that due to the redevelopment of the ground in Podgorica, we are looking at a low allocation of tickets, which is disappointing. I'd imagine by the time this is released, we'll have more of an idea. If you've applied, as I have, I hope you get lucky, as Daft Punk once said. The Lionesses are in World Cup action later this year, and they have announced 4 friendlies in the lead up to this. Now, they face Canada on the 5th of April at Manchester City's Academy Stadium, Spain at Swindon's County Ground on the 9th of April, Denmark on the 25th of May at Walsall, and then finally New Zealand on the 1st of June at Brighton's Amex. Tickets are all well priced at £10 for adults and £1 for concessions, fa.com for those. Now, that World Cup starts on the 9th of June. But before all of that, the annual She Believes Cup starts on the 27th of February when we face Brazil, then the USA on the 2nd of March and Japan on the 5th. Now, the end of January, beginning of February, saw the England futsal team through to the next stage of the Futsal World Cup qualifying after finishing runners-up to Latvia in Group A, after we beat Gibraltar 4-1 and Cyprus 5-4, although we lost to Latvia 3-1. We have now been drawn in Group 4, where Italy are the hosts, alongside Hungary and Belarus. This round of matches takes place between the 22nd and 27th of October later this year, where the top 2 teams will qualify for the elite round and playoffs. If you've not seen anything or don't even know what futsal is, then I strongly suggest you give it a quick Google and then head over to YouTube. In recent days, we've also seen Declan Rice, West Ham's defender come midfielder, switch his allegiances to England after representing Ireland 3 times in 3 friendlies. Despite being born in London, he was able to play in green as his grandparents were from Cork in Ireland. March last year, he made his debut for them against Turkey. Now, FIFA rules state that as long as you haven't played a competitive match, i.e. qualifier or tournament games, then you're still free to change nationality. In August of last year, England apparently approached him, and he was subsequently left out of Martin O'Neill's squad that was due to face Wales at the time. Now, I've never really been sure about how I feel about this rule. I'm English. My parents are English. Their parents are English. And as far as I'm aware, and so on. I could, or would, only play for England, given the chance. So I've never been in the position where someone has the opportunity to choose. Should the decision be restricted only by your place of birth, or your parents' birth? I've always thought that going back to involving your grandparents is a little bit too far back, as it were. In recent times, Wilfried Zaha has been a player that changed his allegiances, at our expense, I might add on that one. Played twice for us in friendlies and decided to opt for the Ivory Coast. Other notable world players who have been in similar situations include Diego Costa, Thiago Motta. Anyhow, as yet, he hasn't been selected by England and has stated on Twitter that he isn't taking a call up for granted. But I'm sure Gareth Southgate has been immensely happy by the news. And if he does plays well, helps us progress as a nation and helps us lift a trophy, who's going to remember the 3 Ireland games he played? And of course, I'm sure you heard the sad news regarding Gordon Banks. We'll pay our own tribute to him towards the end of the show, and also to Fred Pickering, who also passed away. Jimmy Greaves, Luther Blissett, Jonathan Woodgate, Chris Waddle, Des Walker, Les Ferdinand, Paul Gascoigne, all had spells abroad, something I'm sure was an education both on and off the pitch. Wasn't just them though, of course there are plenty of other players plying their trade overseas, away from our shores, and someone who, great to speak to, is Cam Melling. He is the author, I guess is the right word for it. Author, is that right?
Yeah, I do it all by myself, yeah.
Yeah. Cam Melling, EnglishPlayersAbroad.com is the website. Welcome along.
Cheers for having me.
You're more than welcome. Been waiting to pick up with you and speak about this website. Give us a brief synopsis of what English Players Abroad is.
Okay, so basically it's a website that basically has interviews with players who play abroad, all English players that play outside the UK. But then it also has a Twitter account to go with it as well, which puts all the latest news like transfers and goals and videos like that. So yeah, just that sort of thing really.
How long's this website been going?
My first year at university was 2014. That's when I started it. Then it went quiet for like 4 years. And then last year I was back on it, posting like every day nearly.
What was your inspiration for doing it? What made you think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set a website up following pretty much every English player overseas.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. It's always been a topic that interested me. Some of the names you mentioned before, obviously, I was pretty young when Gascoigne was about, but I remember seeing him at the Everton training ground once, and obviously the Lazio thing. My university project had to be a blog that you post regularly on for like a couple of months. I just chose this as a subject, and that's how it started, really. I started as a university project, it's kind of from the outside in. And now, where it's grown, I'm actually kind of working in kind of English abroad as well, with agents helping players move abroad.
Oh, really?
So I've got a bit of spare time at the moment. So I'm working with an agent who specialises in taking players abroad. He's taken players from Cambodia, most of Scandinavia, America, that sort of thing. And he comes to me saying, I need some for Ice, I need some for Sweden. And I'll advertise it on my Twitter and send him the player details.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not wanting to be too personal, you're getting a percentage on this?
Once I haven't sorted an actual guaranteed deal, but there is a contract in place for me to get a percentage, yes.
Fair play, well done. I mean, was this what you anticipated doing?
No, I never really ever imagined it like morphing into this sort of thing. It's just like the way it went from me, just like everyone doing me a favour to me, like players come to me wanting their profile to be raised. I just would be delighted if I can help a player move abroad. It'd just be great to be part of that. To be so amazing really to be involved in actually, not just writing about it.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. No, that's superb. So it's 4 or 5 years old, did you say?
Yeah, but it's only really probably kicked off this 2018 onwards, really.
I mean, I've been looking at the website, and it is, in all honesty, a real labour of love. If you haven't seen this website, it is EnglishPlayersAbroad.com. Various interviews, English players in action. Also concentrate on the women's football, which is, of course, a growing scene on that front, the women going abroad. Interviews. How do you go about getting interviews with these players that are abroad?
It started off with just like, I would just follow them on Twitter, they would try me back, and then I could just DM a few questions or email them and get like an article from that. As it's kind of grown this year, some agents have contacted me, or I've contacted agents, and got to like MLS players or like higher level verified players. Because it kind of works two ways. So as it's built up, it kind of gets them exposure, whereas they're not doing me as a favour as much as it used to be.
Yeah. I see the latest one you've put up there on February the 13th, Guy Bates, player that is... I've read that he was he over in Newcastle?
Yes. So he was at Newcastle United and left to go to Newcastle Jets in Australia.
In Australia, that was it. Yes.
And and then had a good. Yeah, he did well Belgium. And then although I don't usually write about players who play in the UK, after he left Belgium, he ended up being like a legend. Won the league with Drogheda in Ireland, won a cup with Carnarvon, Northern Ireland. So that was a bit different, that one. But yeah, I couldn't really avoid that as a big part of his career.
Yeah. So who's the biggest, most glamorous player that you've come across and been able to speak with?
One of the most known ones is Liam Ridgewell, but didn't really go to plan. It was more of his own clothing brand, and he didn't really have answer like detailed questions. So everyone knows Liam Ridgewell is, but it wasn't. My favourite one was probably Jack Price, who plays in MLS for Colorado. He just left Wolves, so obviously he's championship player, moved to Colorado, and that was one of the biggest ones I had. Really, he's got a lot of followers. He played against Rooney a couple of days after I talked to him, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Obviously, you're speaking to a lot of these players that are going abroad, and there must be so many benefits of playing abroad. What have you picked up on from speaking to these players? What's it like for them?
Yeah, I think, but for a lot of them, it's like a reborn. It's taken to a whole new level. They've gone from being amateur, not having a contract at all in the UK, to playing in front of big crowds abroad, which they could never ever achieved at home. Obviously, Östersund in Sweden played Arsenal in the Europa League last year, so they got quite a lot of media coverage. But Jamie Hopkirk, Curtis Edwards were playing like York City or lower, even non-league.
That's right.
Now playing Europa League, professional, top level, obviously lots of fans. Yeah, so definitely sort of a step up. It's not easy to break in high levels, I feel, abroad.
Would you say some of them go to put themselves in the shop window?
I guess they can slightly, like the way they don't. Some players do go low level, then they can play just for the new market. If they're playing youth football in England, they don't have much senior football. They need some games on their record. Playing lower league and abroad is such a good way to get some records. So another example was last year they had the two youngsters, so ex-Newcastle youngster, ex-Bristol Rovers youngster in England, moved to Sweden, 6th or 7th division, so very much lower than their level, but it was the local town of Sven-Göran Eriksson. And Sven lived in that town at Torsby, and so it's a team he played for when he was younger. So they went to his lower level, smash goals are fun, but it was Sven would look after them, so hopefully something goes on from that now, because he helped Sven's team get promoted, and they're hoping to progress now from that.
Oh, wow. I mean, it's always good to have contacts like that when going abroad. Yes. I mean, there's an ideal link to going to England, talking about England. Players abroad that you must sort of be aware of, some players that you think, wow, he's capable of doing well and maybe coming back or being noticed by the under-21s team or the senior team. Anyone that stands out for you? Yeah,
well, a player I do like, he's on loan from Leicester, Leuven in Leicester, in Belgium, sorry, so Leicester's sister team in Belgium.
Right.
They were managed by Nigel Pearson, but he's just been sacked. They've got George Hurst up front from Sheffield Wednesday, who obviously plays under 20s, I think. They also have Elliot Moore, a centre-back, who has played under 20s before, but this is his second season now. He's captaining them in the Belgian second division. He's actually a top scorer, or second top scorer, even though he's a centre-back. And
really?
They're not having a great season, but he's got 5 or 6 goals. He's really leading them from the back now. I feel like he could have a big impact if he comes back to Leicester, maybe a championship loan move in the future.
Yeah, okay. And obviously we've got Jadon Sancho, who I'm sure we'll speak about very soon, but anyone else that's capable of coming onto the senior team? Yeah,
it would have to be obviously his best friend Reiss Nelson at Hoffenheim, and his goals to minute ratio this year for Hoffenheim has been insane. And obviously he's picked up that form in England 21s as well, so hopefully Emil Smith-Rowe and Open Arsenal at Leipzig now can get some game time as well.
Yeah. Germany, would I be right in thinking that is the place to go, or is it just coincidence that we've got 3 fairly high-profile players that I'm aware of playing there?
Yeah, also there's Reece Oxford as well. He's just come in to Augsburg, back-to-back clean sheets after not playing for West Ham all season. Seem to not be worried about age at all. Obviously, you go to Germany, like Lookman last year from Everton, came in, goals, assists. They don't seem to worry about age at all. Whatever the age will get him. Smith-Rowe's been guaranteed first team minutes apparently. Whereas at Arsenal, he couldn't get looking in the league, he could only play Europa League. So, yeah, I don't know what it is, but Germany just don't seem to look at age as a number. They seem to be good enough for you play.
Yeah. Jadon Sancho is playing for fun over at Dortmund at the moment. Can't stop scoring. Obviously got into the England side back end of last year. What's the reaction to Jadon Sancho over in Germany and in Dortmund?
Yeah, it was obviously he was interested to transfer at the time, summer 2017. It hadn't played a single senior match, and he's gone for 10 million. So obviously they knew he had potential at the time. And at first, it seemed like the old cameo, end of last season, the old cameo, you think, oh, it's not bad, like impact sub, a young player, bit pace. But now he's starting every single game. Nearly 14, 15 goal involvements this year. And he's just a guaranteed starter now. They're not looking at it as like an impact person now. He's not like a novelty. He's one of their star players, even though he's only 18. It's just, it's incredible the impact he's had. Obviously, it's some of his old mates from London, that's where he grew up, have seen what he's done.
Yeah, and Jadon Sancho and Reiss Nelson came head-to-head. I think it was it last weekend or the weekend before when Dortmund played Hoffenheim?
Yeah, last weekend, 3-3 draw. Dortmund 3-0 up and then drew 3-3 in the end.
And as you mentioned as well, Emil Smith-Rowe going to Leipzig as part of the end of the transfer window. That must be a strange time for English players to go abroad so quickly, how the transfer window works.
Yeah, obviously deadline day move. Leipzig had been putting out feelers at the end of December for him. I'm not sure why it took so long. They contacted some of his former friends in London, see what they were saying, and that was the end of December, so it obviously took a month to come through. He's injured at the moment. I hope he does well. It's like a win-win situation, really. Like, he should get more first-team minutes. Obviously, he's a prospect. Arsenal rate him highly, so even if he doesn't do that well, he knows he still has a future at Arsenal, but he's got a great chance to put himself on the world stage. And
we've got the MLS as well. Is it Bradley Wright Phillips is still over there, isn't he?
Yeah, obviously he's an absolute legend for the New York Red Bulls. I think he's got over 100 goals MLS, or he's hit 100 goals over there. He's just taken his career to a whole new level. Outscored at Henry when Henry was back there. He's just done so well over there. It's great to see.
So would it be fair to say that maybe Germany or America are favoured places for English players to go?
Yeah, well, obviously US quite a lot of people come for the college system and they can progress into professional. Germany, if you're good, obviously Bundesliga teams don't care about age, but Sweden is probably where the most of the players are, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Sweden, there's like a education. It's called the LFE, League Football Education. They take release players, put them on like an Erasmus exchange program to Sweden. They get 3 or 4 months to play in the 3rd or 4th tier, and if they're impressed, they can lead professional deals.
Oh, I see.
But Sweden, a lot of players in Sweden. Last year in the 4th tier in Sweden, there was 20, 30, 40 players maybe in that division through the sort of Erasmus sort of scheme.
All from England?
Yeah, the one team specifically called Yotagals had an English manager or English coaching staff for about 10 English players. They just missed out promotion to 3rd tier.
So, well, there's certainly plenty of teams to keep eyes on here. And with the passing of Gordon Banks in the last few days, what is it? Just outfield players that we tend to see go abroad, or are there any goalkeepers overseas?
Well, yeah, actually my first ever interview, before even the blogger started, it was for a different website. A guy called Matt Jones was playing Portuguese first division, 2nd division.
Okay.
So he, youngster from England, I think he was Stoke, maybe West Brom when he was younger, and then he moved to America University, and then built a good career in Portugal, playing for Belenenses and a few other teams around there. He's my first ever interview. And then another goalkeeper, a guy called Matt Kafer, moved to Gibraltar, and he's now Gibraltar International since they changed their eligibility rules. It took like 3 years, so he's now international playing in the Nations League.
Wow.
Like a goalkeeper, yeah.
And the women's side of things, do you find that there's a difference between the English men and the English women playing abroad?
Yeah, I would have said a few years ago, or maybe even a couple of years ago, to be fair, because you think the American Women's League is so much more watched than ours. It was a great place for English women to go, get 20,000 fans watching that league per game. And then obviously you got 2 England internationals like Leon, the best women's team in the world. But now I see English men are kind of copying them as well. And also the Women's Super League in England now is number 3 professional. That didn't used to be the case. They don't need to go abroad as much now, I see.
Yeah. Of course, we've got Toni Duggan over in Barcelona, part of the Lionesses. She's obviously a big deal over there as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, she's got a lot of followers, a lot of big brand deals, that sort of thing, and scores a lot of goals, definitely. And it was definitely, obviously, she was a star playing in the Women's Super League, but kind of meeting Messi at training quite often and sort of profile that the Barcelona team have. Anything to do with Barcelona has a huge profile. It's a move that she couldn't really turn down, and doing well for her.
Is the Spanish women's league as good or as big as the English women's?
Well, yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I know the top few teams like Barcelona are really good. I'm not sure how that's because they do kind of thrash teams in that division. I'm not sure how good it kind of level kind of spreads out between the teams. There were 2 English people playing for Malaga at the start of the season as well.
Right. How many players have you pretty much covered? Do you know? So like a ballpark figure?
I started writing again last April, so there's been at least 100 exclusive interviews with different players since then.
Are you speaking to them like this, or is it just all written emails and that sort of thing? Do you have to wait up until whatever time at night?
No, it is mostly through like WhatsApp or email. I used to do a lot of writing at work as well, with my work breaks and stuff. So because I had a text in front of me, it was so much easier.
I know that feeling of doing things at work.
Like agents seem to prefer to talk on phone. Some like older players, but yeah, mostly it's just through text, so I can just have it right in front of me to write whenever.
Yeah. And what's the most random place you know of an Englishman playing abroad?
One of the good ones is Dave Molly, former Liverpool youth player, England 17 striker. Went to Wolves, got injured, and ended up playing in the Maldives.
Nice.
So it was just for the Asian equivalent of the Europa League, basically. He only played those games. Apparently, he had he was playing big crowds, and there's lots of when he came to training, there was a lot of people watching. They were so intrigued by the English player training at the Maldivian club, and he's since played in Estonia as well.
Wow, it's sort of thing that I guess we'd all love to experience. We'd all love to play in the Premier League if we could, but I guess going abroad, I think it'd be a real insight. Do you hear of any players talking about the language barrier or the food?
Yeah, so I heard there's end of last year, 3 English players went to a team in the 3rd or 4th division in Croatia, but unfortunately now they've all come back because they weren't getting paid in time. The accommodation was apparently terrible, and the food was apparently a disgrace with what they were being offered in their deal. So unfortunately, all 3 of them, like 2 of them are 2 ex-Newcastle youth players, like played high level Newcastle under-18s. Both had to come back now, and it's not been the promise that they're offered.
So does it make you feel for players from overseas coming over to here that they may experience?
Quite hard for some foreigner coming over here compared, because if a foreigners come over here, we've been notoriously quite lazy with our languages, aren't we? Going abroad, you can usually quite like English, like a few people might know the English, especially in Sweden, pretty much everyone seems to know it. But coming over would be quite tricky. One player said that he felt abroad felt a lot less hostile with a new player coming in, and they felt quite welcome for a new player. Whereas sometimes he felt in England, he goes to a new team and they're quite hostile. They think, he's going to try to steal my position, that sort of thing. He didn't experience that abroad.
Interesting insight into it, how it's done abroad, like turning up on first day of training, I guess.
Yeah, he's very welcome. He's very happy with that.
Anything else that you'd want to mention?
The article I'm just in the middle of writing at the moment is about a guy called Jay Clark who moved to Spain with his family when he was 3 years old, and he said he believes he's the youngest at 19, and he thinks he's the youngest person ever to get UEFA Pro license coaching badge. So he's 19. He plays 4th division Spanish football as well, but he's also got the pro license coaching. But obviously in England that costs a lot more. And it costs him about €1,500, and it's more about you need like 500 hours. But in England it costs like tens of thousands of pounds. There's only a few hundred people that have it in England. When in Spain there's a couple of thousand people that have it.
I guess with you speak to players. Have you thought about managers as well?
Yeah, there's one or 2 managers I have. The old India manager, Stephen Constantine. He's just left India actually, but he's got a great book out. His autobiography is amazing. But a couple of years ago, I had a few messages with him, and he's just done wonders. And he's managed like all over Africa, Asia, after starting off in America, and he's just done wonders. And in India, really shot him up new rankings. And yeah, it's good to hear from him. Really, he's actually his book. I could really recommend his book, Stephen Constantine. Is some of the things he had to go through in Africa, some of the politics were just incredible.
Oh, I'll seek that one out. Cam, thank you very much for taking your time there. The website is EnglishPlayersAbroad.com. You mentioned Twitter. What is your Twitter handle if people are open to following and chatting to you?
At English Abroad 1. The 1 at the end is unfortunate, but as it was needed.
Okay, we'll put a link to that. Anything else that you've got? Is there Facebook or is there Instagram?
Oh yes, Instagram, which is at English Players Abroad.
Okay, we'll link to all of those. Cam, thank you very much for your time. Wish you all the best. Make sure you get a decent percentage on that agency fee. And And stay in touch. Be always good to hear from you for any future England players that you can see before us.
Thanks. Yeah, cheers for having me. I'll make sure you know.
Now, as I'm sure you've heard on the news recently, Tuesday the 12th of February saw the passing of arguably one of England's, if not the world's, greatest goalkeepers, Gordon Banks, aged 81. As I like to do is pay my own respects with a short piece. Born on the 30th of December 1937 in Sheffield, he began his professional career at Chesterfield in 1958. Then moved to Leicester City a year later for £7,000. It was here that he made the position his own, making 293 appearances for the Foxes. He was twice a runner-up in the FA Cup, but did win the League Cup in 1964. And in 1967 he joined Stoke City, where he made 194 appearances and again won the League Cup. A car accident, of course well documented, in October 1972 robbed him of the sight in his right eye, although he did later go on to continue to play in America. But he will be remembered for the part he played in England's 1966 victory. But there was so much more than that. Capped twice by the under-23s in 1961, Alf Ramsey gave him his debut on the 6th of April 1963 against Scotland at Wembley in place of Ron Springett. Gordon went on to win 73 caps for the Three Lions. Of course, 1966 came around, where he played every minute of every game. England sailing through the group stages, defeating Mexico and France and drawing with Uruguay. Banks keeping a clean sheet in all three games. In fact, it was only the 82nd minute of the semi-final against Portugal did he have to bend down and pick the ball out of the net. He had gone 721 minutes since conceding a goal for England. Of course, beaten twice in the final, not that it mattered, and there are of course wonderful pictures of him wearing his yellow jersey, holding the trophy aloft with Bobby Moore after the game. Now he will be forever known for that save against Pelé in the heat of the Mexico World Cup 4 years later in 1970. Jairzinho crossing from the right, Pelé rising high above Tommy Wright and heading powerfully downwards to the bottom right-hand corner. Wikipedia states the following. Pelé immediately shouted goal. The split-second incident only allowed Banks time for one conscious thought, that the shot was impossible to catch, and the only way to prevent Pelé from following up on the rebound would be to parry the ball over the bar. The ball bounced 2 yards in front of the goal line, and Banks managed to make contact with the ball with the fingers of his right hand and rolled his hand slightly to angle the ball over the crossbar. He landed in the inner netting of the goal and knew he had saved the ball after witnessing Pelé's reaction. Banks then rose to his feet to defend the corner and broke into laughter after the following exchange. "I thought that was a goal," said Pelé. "You and me both," said Banks. "You're getting old, Banksy. You used to hold on to them," said Bobby Moore.
Carlos Alberto. That's dangerous. Jairzinho. Already left Cooper standing. Pelé! What a save! Gordon Banks! Take that out of the net. And that's the danger for England. Sent by a quick raid. And that's the save of the World Cup.
As I mentioned, his debut came against Scotland in 1963, which England lost. His 73rd and final match was also against the Scots, this time at Hampden on the 27th of May 1972. And this time, England ran out winners, with Banks keeping a clean sheet in a 1-0 win. In his England career, he kept 35 clean sheets and was only on the losing side 9 times. 3 days earlier, Fred Pickering passed away, aged 78. Not such a household name as Gordon Banks, but a player who represented England nevertheless. A centre forward who played for Blackburn Rovers, Everton, Birmingham and Blackpool. He was capped 3 times by England in 1964, scoring 5 times. A hat-trick on his debut in a 10-0 win over the USA, then followed that up with goals against Northern Ireland and Belgium. In fact, playing in the same side as Gordon Banks in the game against the Irish. Had he not pulled out of the 1966 squad through injury, perhaps he would have been more of a name on everyone's lips. As Gordon Banks and Fred Pickering, condolences to both families. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks to Cam Melling for his time. Take a look at EnglishPlayersAbroad.com. I'll be back soon, hopefully with either a preview to our qualifying games, or if I can sort something else out, I'll get that out for you beforehand. Watch this space. If you have any suggestions as to who you'd like to hear from, please feel free to get in touch and I'll do my very best. As before, please do spread the word, like, subscribe and review at your usual podcast download place. You can find us on Twitter at 3 Lions Podcast and also search on Facebook. We're on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud and also at www.3lionspodcast.com. We'll speak again soon. Cheers.